Attention to our other big story that is coming from Hong Kong. Hong Kong's pro-democracy activists Jimmy Lai and Agnes Chow have been released on bail after being rounded up earlier this week under the new national security law imposed by China. Media tycoon Jimmy Lai was arrested from his office on Monday in a dramatic operation that was broadcast live on social media. Lai was swarmed by reporters upon his release from the Mong Kok police station. Many of his supporters also gathered near the police station, waving the latest copy of Jimmy Lai's Apple Daily. The newspaper has now seen a massive surge in readership, with the company bumping up publishing from 70,000 to nearly 550,000. Lai's arrest also led to a buying frenzy at the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, which saw his media company's shares rise more than 1,000%. Jimmy Lai did not have any comments for the media after his release. Activist Agnes Chow was also released on bail 24 hours after her arrest. She was rounded up along with 9 others under charges of foreign collusion. The Hong Kong government is yet to substantiate the case against them. Chow has been released on the condition of regularly reporting to the police. Authorities have also confiscated her passport. After her release, Chow condemned what she described as Beijing's political persecution and warned that more people will be arrested under this new law.
I would say the political prosecution this time was very ridiculous, and actually in late June this year I have already declared that I shall not participate in any of the connections and any of the works in the international arena. So I would say that it's very obvious that the regime and the government is using the national security law to suppress political dissidents. And this kind of situation would not only happen on me, but will happen on more and more Hong Kong people in the future.
Now, for more details about these developments coming in from Hong Kong, Richard Kimber is joining us live. Richard, a very good morning to you and thank you so much for joining us. Now, the conditions of their arrest and release seem to be quite strange. It seems that both Jimmy Lai and Agnes Chow have been released. How is this being perceived in Hong Kong? Does it give the signal that authorities actually responded to the global outcry over their bizarre arrest? We know that Agnes Chow's passport is still confiscated. She has to continuously report to the police under this new national security law. So give us more updates.
Well, there's certainly lots of questions being asked here. A lot of support for both these individuals, along with the other 8 people who were also arrested during this national security law crackdown on Monday. Agnes Chow saying that she still doesn't really understand why she was arrested, even after being arrested for some 24 hours and being detained. There's a sense of frustration here that the national security law's remit is becoming wider and giving police more powers than they've ever had in Hong Kong before, which is why not just the arrests causing frustration here, but also the manner with which the arrests are taking place. People being arrested at home late in the evening, and in the case of Jimmy Lai, his entire business and newsroom being raided by more than 200 police officers, taking with them, as the editor of the newspaper says, many documents that are not appropriate for an investigation that should be focused on Jimmy Lai and his business interests, instead including documents relating to the newspaper's editorial content. So also throwing up many questions and frustrations here among the journalistic community about the freedom of the press in Hong Kong.
Right. Now, we also heard Agnes Chow say that these arrests were a clear case of political persecution and efforts from the Chinese to clamp down on all forms of dissent. So what can we really expect from Hong Kong's pro-democracy protesters in the coming days now that these 2 iconic figures have been released?
Well, the trend in Hong Kong has typically been that people have found more creative ways to try and show their frustration with the government when they know that, for example, at the moment they're not able to organise large gatherings on the street because of regulations due to COVID. They now know that it's becoming more difficult to organise large online campaigns. The efforts yesterday with regards to buying up tens of thousands of copies of Jimmy Lai's newspaper is one creative way that pro-democracy activists have been voicing their frustration. The next step, as you mentioned earlier, is the buying of shares in his company, which was an extraordinary gain for his company's shares yesterday and on Monday as well. And that's following through today on a day when, frankly, the rest of the market in Hong Kong is all in the red. So an amazing run on that stock, mostly coming, analysts say, from small-time retail investors who are trying in their small way to try and prop up that company and show their frustrations in that regard. So there's a typical sense here of creativity with regards to showing frustration. Also, one of Jimmy Lai's sons owns a restaurant in central Hong Kong, and there were queues of people lined up outside that yesterday. Another show of support for him and his family.
Right. My final question, which is something that you just mentioned, that the Apple Daily and the company that owns it recorded a huge rise in its stock valuation, and the publication had to increase how much it publishes by nearly 5 times as Hong Kongers rallied behind the newspaper. But the question remains, will this publication continue its critique of Beijing now that Lai has been released, or will it be heavily censored going forward?
Well, the editor of that newspaper and all the staff who have been outspoken during this last 24-hour period have been very clear that they fully intend to keep publishing the newspaper and continue to work in exactly the way they have been so far. But there are larger concerns about the wider journalistic implications. The Foreign Correspondents Club here in Hong Kong has complained that the stalling of visa application renewals and visas being approved by the immigration department here for foreign journalists is a sign that they sense that there is a new strategy being put in place by the government here to try and restrict the amount of journalistic freedom here. Also, following the arrests on Monday, police were very particular about which media outlets they allowed into that police press conference, which frustrated much of the journalistic community as they see again the police overstepping their mark with regards to what they've used to be dealing with in terms of Hong Kong policing. So bigger concerns here beyond this specific case and beyond this newspaper about how the effects of press freedom may be undermined after this national security law has been implemented.
Right. All right, Richard, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for all your inputs.